And we're live.
Welcome, everybody. Hey, Capt Ron here, along with Eric and Dieter. Once again, back with you for Fearless Fight Live for yet another week as we barrel into Christmas here. Hopefully, lots of you are planning to fly in this holiday season. Hopefully, nobody's discouraged about traveling because they can't fly. But I'm sure there's a person or two out there that's making the old family journey in the car again. So anyway, are you guys doing anything special for Christmas, Eric? You going anywhere?
Fortunately, I have peeps coming in here, so it takes minimal effort on my part. I'm
Okay.
I'm grateful for them taking one for the team.
Okay. How about you, Dieter? You guys hanging
Well,
around or?
I'm glad to share that I'm actually gonna be in the air sooner rather than later, going back to Austria, visiting with my family. And so
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I'm uh I'm excited to see what the holiday flying experience in 2024 is gonna be like.
Wait, what, are you actually flying on Christmas Day or
No, I'm not. We
oh,
have
the 13th, right? You're going
It's
to
the
go.
13th,
Yeah.
so it's on
Yeah.
Friday,
Okay.
but the kids are
Yeah.
coming in right for Christmas, so they might actually get more of that rush
Yeah.
um than we do. But
Air
um
Air Canada or
yes, I was all excited about Lufthansa, and then I saw that it was operated by Air Canada. Coming back, it'll be
yeah. The
operated by Lufthansa, but
Yeah, the international code shares are like that. I know when I went to I bought a ticket through British Airways, but it was an American on the way over and British coming back. So
yeah.
yeah, it's I guess I could have delved into the details and learned that before, but I didn't realize it until afterwards. So anyway,
And Dieter, you flying out on Friday the 13th? That's a good day to fly.
Yes, for
That's good.
all the
Pricing and a lot
superstitious.
of room. Yeah.
anybody since Eric mentioned that if you got a superstition to go along with your fear flying about Friday the 13th, put it in there. We'll
Yeah.
make fun. We'll make fun of you. No, we won't make fun of you. We're just curious, and we're going to talk tonight. Well, I guess I could shut up and put the slides up here, and of course the wrong one is up. So once again, welcome everybody. Fearless Flight Live, our weekly Facebook show for people who have an active fear of flying, people who know somebody, and people who just like to monitor our chat about what's going on in the airline industry. Um, we hope that you are a member of our Facebook group. If you're not, please consider joining that. It's a great resource. It's called Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather, and we monitor that. Matter of fact, Dieter found a couple of things in there that we're going to bring up during this evening there. I hope Joan Harris. Joan, I'm not monitoring my email here. I hope you made it on. Joan has been doing some coaching, and she just sent me an email a little bit ago, and I sent her over to that. So it'd be good feedback if people are having trouble getting on the show itself tonight. I saw a couple of an interesting article. It was interesting to me, and so I thought it might be something that we could talk about a little bit. And that's the role of in-flight safety videos in managing flight, and basically talking about the pre-flight briefing that we go through, where it fits in, how it affects you all in general. How does it play out? I got a couple of them that we're gonna actually watch here in just a minute, and we'll highlight the December live monthly group coaching webinar coming up on December 19th, and then again an encore on December 21st. Aviation news. Eric's got a little piece about. We were talking last week about what happens in this day and age with the war in the Middle East, among other things. Um, when people are throwing rocks at each other, how does that affect airspace overhead? If you were here a couple weeks ago, you may recall that our good friend Nat Fuqua, who's flying the Boeing 777, he runs into that when he goes to India quite a bit, where they fly around it. They don't even mess with it, which is probably a good thing to do. Anyway, so we got a couple of smattering things there. And of course, if you have any questions, we really encourage you to reach out and ask them. So this is the place to do that. So this is a way to talk about. I'll give you an idea about the role of. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the advertisement there about our upcoming monthly group coaching session. The title of it is "From Victim to Victor: Rewriting the Stories That Define Us." You know, our motto is, or our tagline is, life's not about what happens to you; it's about the story you tell yourself what happens to. And nothing manifests more about that than fear of flying. It's not about the fear. It's not about that. It's about the story you tell yourself about various aspects of aviating. And the webinar, this month's version, will be coming up on December 19th. And then we have an encore presentation on Saturday morning, December 21st, to give all of you, any of you who might have missed it live on Thursday but can attend on Saturday, and particularly those of you who live on the East Coast, where it might get too late for you to watch it on Thursday night. So we've done this. This will be about the fourth time I think I've done that. I really enjoy it. It's even more fun for me the second time through than it is the first time. So pick one that's convenient, or do them both, your choice. And why would you join us? Because we're going to do deep dive in the psychology of flight anxiety, teaching you how to recognize triggers and manage them effectively. This isn't just about information, it's about transformation. And these are some of the reasons why you might want to join us. So let's look at tonight at the role of flight safety videos. Most of the airlines, I'm going to throw this out. Dieter, you've been to Mexico. Who'd you fly on the way to Mexico, Dieter?
Well, at different times with different airlines, but the last time I flew was WestJet. And
oh yeah, WestJet.
And a time before, I flew the Canadian equivalent of Spirit Air, which is Flair Airlines.
Yeah.
So,
and did they do videos, or did they do it live, their presentation? Their flight safety briefing.
Yeah, curious. I mean, it's interesting that you asked that. So, WestJet, which is more like an established airline, they actually did in-flight, like they had the demonstration with, but Flair, it was
so
all
WestJet did it live.
Yep.
And okay.
But Flair Airlines, we had the screens, and it was a pre-recorded safety video.
Most of the big guys do that. Southwest, I have a lot of experience in Southwest recently. Of course, they do it all manually. You've written on American more than I have recently, Eric. Are they doing a manual or video, or a combination?
Yes. Yeah. Answer B. Mixed bag.
Okay.
You don't know whether you're going to get a live or you're going to just get the video.
Okay, so that's kind of sets up what we're going to talk about tonight. We'll talk a little bit about the role of the flight safety briefing, and we'll talk about what you might want to pay attention to, if and just make you more self-aware of when the video comes on, what it'll do it. And the purpose of the in-flight safety videos, or the pre-flight safety videos, are to help you out for the most part. There's some informational stuff in there, about operating your portable devices and things like that. And of course, that is ultimately related to safety. But most of the reasons that we do the safety briefing is so we can get you out of there in a hurry if we need to, and keep you safe if we lose pressurization. So they're tools for your safety and a potential resource to ease flight anxiety. If you have an opinion and you're live here or you're watching the replay, put a remark in there for us, if you would. If the safety videos themselves cause anxiety, okay, and maybe we should break them up. If you find yourself being triggered by the safety video itself, or the safety briefing, Does it make a difference? Is it worse with a video or better? Or is it worse with being live or better? Okay.
I can already, here's one comment. I hate watching safety videos. They trigger my anxiety.
Wow.
Okay, cool. And whoever that was, if you could give us a little bit more, what is it? What trigger does it trigger for you? Okay, just a general trigger, or does it trigger a specific thing, like when they talk about the depressurization, for example, and we'll get into a little bit more of that. So
it reminds me of sorry, I'm just reading it as it comes in. It reminds me of all the things that could go wrong during the flight.
Okay, good. Appreciate that. And anybody else out there that has a comment, we'd love to hear that. So, you know, and the equivalent, if there is an equivalent for this, it mirrors what Eric and I would do and Diane would do in training. The whole idea is to prep yourself such that if something out of the ordinary or an abnormality should happen, a non-normal, as we call it in the industry, then you could hopefully bridge that gap of confusion and uncertainty a little bit, at least, to help you operate better. And certainly that's why we practice taking off and having engine problems. And all the other various and sundry things that we practice in the simulator, almost all of which we'll never experience in an airplane. Have you ever had an engine that give you problems on takeoff, Eric, in a commercial airliner?
No, not on takeoff. Had an en-router and had to make a precautionary landing, and we didn't even have it fully shut down. It was at idle, but
yeah,
nothing that would precipitate, even come remotely close to precipitate having to land the airplane and then bail out of it.
Yeah. And how many years airline?
How many years ago was that?
No. How many total years of experience in the airlines?
32.
32. I got 30. That's 62. And Fuqua was on here, being a young whippersnapper that he was. He had what? Did he have 40 almost, or 35 or whatever? So effectively, the three of us have over 100 hours, and none of us have ever had anything anywhere near what we train for in the sim. And in my entire career of aviation, I've shut 2 engines down as a precautionary measure, both in the military. And as it turns out, it was a faulty gauge on one of them. So we shut the engine down as a precaution so that it wouldn't create a greater problem with part of the mechanical workings in there. So anyway, all right. So we're back to the subject tonight. I'm going to show you this kind of a fun video. If you haven't seen it, they've hit the airwaves here, at least the airwaves that I've been watching. So this is a Qatar Airways safety video, and I have flown on Qatar when I went to India a year ago, or about 2 years ago now, I guess. So take a look at this. It's kind of entertaining, and we'll use this to launch a discussion.
I'm doing it. Yeah, I should have gotten an award for this. I should have. Oh, thank you. Don't mind if I do. Oh, hey, what's going on, Q-Boss?
What's up, Kevin? Look, man, I need your help. I need the world's greatest safety video.
You know, they say a lot of these safety videos are no nonsense. How about we just call it what it is? Unimaginative, uninventive, they're flat out boring.
Exactly. Use some of your Hollywood magic and show our destination.
Say no more. Excuse me, everybody, hey! Welcome, Qatar Airways passengers. I want to thank you for choosing the greatest airline. Exits and walkways must be clear at all times. Get your stuff out the aisle. Baggage must be stored in your overhead compartment or under the seat in front of you. Please be careful when opening your overhead locker, as items may fall out. Got to be careful. Wait a minute. Come on. Rosie, hey, what you doing in my safety video?
The Q boss sent me. He figured you may need a little bit of help. I'll be in the Q suite if you need me, Kev.
Yeah, well, it's probably because you could just see the back of it. I couldn't see the back of it. Look, gotta push, make sure you push it back. Okay? That's important. I couldn't see the thing. Dang it. Whatever secret you're holding on to have to be stored under the seat in front of you.
Relax, bro. I got you covered.
In-flight entertainment monitors must be folded away. You watching Jumanji?
Yeah, The Rock was my fave.
Please fasten your seatbelt for taxi, takeoff, and landing. Insert the metal end into the buckle until it clicks. I think that's a click. That's how you know it's locked up. To adjust, pull the strap to tighten the belt by making sure our most precious are secure. Lock it down. To unfasten, you lift the flap and pull the ends apart. If you are seated in one of our forward-facing premium cabins, pull the shoulder strap across your chest and attach it like this. To unfasten, release the shoulder strap fitting away from the seatbelt attachment, then lift the flap and pull the ends apart, like this. When the seatbelt sign is illuminated, you must remain in your seat with the seatbelt fastened. Don't get up.
Now, if you plan to sleep during the flight, please keep your seatbelt fastened and visible to cabin crew.
Now, I hope you guys don't plan on sleeping over. I don't have no sleep bags. I can't do that. Let's get out of here. What are you doing? Now, you know that stuff makes your breath smell like a butt tray. Listen and listen good. We strictly observe a non-smoking policy at all times on this aircraft. And that includes this stuff. What is this called? No, that includes electronic smoking devices. No! Smoking in the toilet would activate the smoke alarm. Smoking on board the aircraft and tampering with the smoke detectors are criminal offenses punishable by law.
Come on, upload already.
It's not gonna happen, Joey. You don't have a signal because I shut the cell towers down. Go ahead, ask me why.
Why would you do that?
I knew you would ask that.
Well, I did.
You wanna know why I did it?
I do.
I'll tell you why I did it. I did it for safety reasons, Joey.
Safety reasons. What?
With the exception of handheld portable electronic devices in flight mode, the use of electronic devices is not permitted for takeoff and landing.
Who you talking to?
Such devices must remain switched off until advised by cabin crew. Please remove all devices from charging ports for takeoff and landing. If you drop your electronic device inside your seat, please do not operate the seat controls. Instead, contact a member of the cabin crew for assistance. Please take a moment to locate the emergency exits near your seats. Emergency exits are clearly marked and located as shown. Escape path lighting will guide you to the emergency exits. Watch this.
Whoa. How'd you do that?
I don't really reveal my secrets. In case of emergency landing on water, evacuation slides will serve as rafts. Please remember to remove all high-heeled shoes before using the slide and leave all hand baggage behind. Okay. Who thought this was funny?
Help! I didn't know it was gonna be this high up. Who thought this was a good idea?
Why are you going so slow? Excuse me.
I'm going with my speed.
You need to speed it up a little bit. And where'd you get a chair up here?
Long story. I'll explain later.
In the unlikely event of an emergency landing, please adopt the appropriate brace position. Adam, look, your shoe's untied.
Not again.
For those in a premium cabin, forward-facing seats, please adopt this brace position. For those in a premium cabin with rear-facing seats, please adopt this brace position.
Oh, my legs are numb.
It's just a little numbness.
Kevin, my legs are numb.
Put the mask on, Adam.
There's already oxygen out here.
Oh, Adam, will you stop being a baby? If oxygen is required, mask will appear from above you, or you may be required to release the mask by pulling on the colored red flag marked pull. Pulling the mask toward you will activate the oxygen supply. Place the mask over your nose and mouth, adjust the band to secure it, and breathe normally. When your mask is fitted correctly, you may then assist others. You can't help people if you can't breathe. Well, look at me just sitting here looking natural and comfortable with my Falcon. I'm not scared. No, you are. Your life jacket is either beside you, next to you, or underneath your seat. When instructed by crew, remove it from its container and pull it over your head. Hold on.
Bring the tape around your waist and fasten in front, pulling firmly to secure.
You just gotta pay attention. Is that a pacifier?
Only inflate the life jacket as you leave the aircraft by pulling on the red toggle sharply downward.
What is a toggle?
You can also inflate or top up the life jacket by blowing into the mouthpiece. The life jacket has a whistle to attract attention. A light will automatically illuminate when in water.
I'm getting dizzy.
Life jackets for infants
Hey,
will be distributed by cabin crew.
it's not hard once you really figure it out. To help with final preparations for takeoff, please ensure your seat is in the fully upright position, your window shade is open or set to the clear position, your tray table and footrest are stowed, your armrest is down, and your seatbelt is fastened. What? Yes. The Q-Suite doors shall be locked in the open position by the crew and should remain open for taxi, takeoff, and landing. To remind yourself of the safety aspects of this aircraft, please read the safety card located in your seat pocket. It shows in detail each of the safety aspects of this aircraft. If you're traveling in the premium cabin, the Q-Suite safety card is located in your suite, which highlights emergency exit procedures in case your suite door is jammed in the closed position. But if you have any questions, the cabin crew will be happy to help you. Please prepare for takeoff. Now you can enjoy your 8,000 entertainment options on your Oryx One. By the way, I should be in 7,999 of them. The rocket's only in one. Don't ask me why.
Okay, so there is. Get over there. All right, here's another one. This is a little bit shorter, and this is being shown right now on. Oh, I forget who is this. Oh, in Air New Zealand. All right, so take a look at this.
It was funny. Sandra just came on and she's like, "What am I watching? Are you guys live?"
right. And this is a different thing there, but I thought, what the heck, we'll take advantage of this because it was in the news and talking about this, and it's a great subject. And so we'll get into this. Eric and I will talk a little bit about what you really need to know. So here we go.
Hey!
Kayo suahin, kinin melonamen. Welcome to Middle-earth, my friend. I'm here to guide you on your journey, so cease your rabble-rousing and listen very carefully, and obey all crew member instructions and all illuminated signs. If the seatbelt sign were to illuminate, return to your seat right away. Make sure all valuables at your feet are pushed under the seat in front of you.
And fasten your seatbelt low across your hips. Although we recommend you keep your seatbelt fastened through the flight, if you do need to get up, release by lifting the lever or pressing down on the button.
Oxygen is precious to you beyond measure. So if an oxygen mask should drop down from above, pull down on the mask, place over your nose and mouth, and adjust the elastic on both sides for a secure fit. There's no need to sound the alarm if the bag doesn't inflate. There's plenty of oxygen flowing through freely.
If you have halflings or young ones, secure your own mask before helping with theirs.
Woo! If there's a mishap during takeoff or landing, brace yourself on the seat in front of you. I myself prefer the more compact method. Put your hands on your head, your elbows on either side of your legs, and your feet flat on the floor.
When seated in Business Premier, sit upright, rest your hands on your thighs, and keep your feet firmly on the floor.
Life jackets are easily put on while seated. Just rip open the pouch, slip it over your head, clip the waistbands together, and tighten.
In economy class, it's located under your seat. If you're seated in a sky couch, it's in your leg rest. In premium economy, it's here under your seat, and if you're seated in business premier, it's located here beside you.
Inflate your life jacket by pulling on the red tab, but only when leaving the aircraft.
If you need to inflate the life jacket a bit more, roll into the mouthpiece!
Crew will provide cute little life jackets for our littlest people, should you need one.
Smoking anything, including electronic cigarettes, anywhere on board is forbidden territory, as it's dangerous.
We have lighting in each aisle to guide the way out if it's dark. Your crew are now pointing out your exits.
Your nearest exit could be behind you. Count the rows to the exit so you know the fastest route out.
It's time to stow all electronic devices.
As you're on board a 777 aircraft, lightweight handheld electronic devices may be used at any time.
For more information, please refer to your safety card or ask one of the flight attendants.
Thank you for embarking upon your journey with Air New Zealand. May your path always be guided by the light of the stars, and may the future bestow upon you all the happiness and adventure our Middle Earth has to offer.
That's a wrap, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it.
I don't know about you guys. I'd love to have the money that they spent on that. Making that.
Betty.
It's interesting. Sandra actually echoed the same sentiment as the first person. She said, I don't like them. They make me more nervous. And I turn on my headset and I don't listen.
Yeah. You know, I kind of have that same thing. And the longer one to me was worse than the shorter one. And and I really wonder, you know, when you take off, if something happens, you know, and it's only been less than 30 minutes since you had the safety briefing, but if you can't find your life vest, you know, you don't even know where to go. I know when we do it, we have to hands on, right, Eric? We have to go through it, and the biggest things that for me, I think the most important thing is to know how to get out of the doggone airplane in a hurry if you had to. That would be the most challenging thing. And just for grins, Eric, what are some of the reasons why people might have to evacuate the airplane on takeoff in the first part of the trip?
That is such a remote. Let me preface it by saying that is such a remote occurrence. But if we have rejected a takeoff,
which means we decided not to take it into the air.
Yeah, and we're barreling down the runway, and we stop, usually quite violently, and we have generally what causes it is a fire situation that is either not under our control or indicating that it is not under our control. Then we might decide that the safest avenue is to get everybody out of the airplane. And at that point, we would evacuate it once the airplane is stopped. But it would take something of that nature to have us want to throw people out of the airplane, which is risky in and of itself.
Yeah, and Eric used the word violent. I'm going to temper that just a little bit. Just say it's going to be a very aggressive maneuver on the part of the crew. And you're gonna see things that you would never ever have seen and experienced in an airplane. You're gonna be thrown forward against the seatbelt. You're gonna hear the brakes screeching, and when we get done, you may see even some smoke coming off of the brakes around there. You probably see the fire trucks come over, and then so that's a separate event. And then if for some reason it threatened the safety of the passengers on the airplane, then we would make the decision to evacuate. And the main thing to remember is do not grab anything in the overhead. Do not grab your laptop. You want to just comply and get off the airplane. So anything else, Eric, you can think of?
No, that was as charitable as you could state a rejected takeoff stop.
Yeah. And we'll conclude the slides that I prepared here, and this one, of course, talks about it has the three questions: does entertainment improve or hinder retention of the safety information? So I'll throw it out to any of you who might be on or who might be watching the replay. Does the fact in these two videos, does it help to you to retain the information? We already have somebody that volunteered. It made her feel a little bit more anxious. For me, it was just like, get it over with. It just seemed too long. And then studies suggest that humor may overwhelm critical safety messages. So the upside of humor is that, and I think of Southwest, although my recent experience in Southwest, they were notorious for using humor and wrapping and things like that in there, and they don't use video. They do it all manually. But I found them, at least initially, you're more tempted to look at them because they were doing something that you weren't expecting. And so humor in that regard, I thought could be more effectively used. But again, if you were charged with remembering something out of it, and all you remembered was the humor and how funny it was, then it might defeat the purpose of that. And the challenge, of course, is airlines must balance the pitch between humor and clarity. That's always been a contentious item in the airlines, as to what you can do, what you get away with, what you don't do when it comes to the safety briefing. And there have been some studies. There was one published in Applied Ergonomics that found that there was a trade-off between entertainment and education, and it suggested that highly entertaining videos might overwhelm passengers and diminish their ability to recall critical safety information. And that's regardless of whether you're an anxious flyer or not. It just means if there's more entertainment, it might diminish the educational value of that. And there was an article in the New York Post that talked about some experts argue that as engaging content can enhance attention. And that's what I was trying to describe when I recalled some of the days and experiences I've had with Southwest, where there was a balance between something new and refreshing that I wasn't expecting that made me pay attention to that.
I think my experience with that, because I also had the good fortune to be on some Southwest flights with what I would call improv. I mean, I know that, those particular flight attendants have their routine, but remember, Ron, these two gentlemen.
Oh my God, those guys were, that was one of the best flights we've ever had. Yeah.
Ever. And
they literally had a song and dance routine, and they were friends. They buddy bid, so they bid together all the time. And they were based out of Las Vegas, I remember, and we were going from Burbank to Sacramento, but they were just so entertaining, and that was throughout the flight. You literally were paying attention to them.
It was like you're in a comedy club. So I will say that that live element that has a way different feel for me, anyways, than these highly produced videos where the one that the first one, it was just way long. I mean,
and I rode Delta recently, and they had almost like a musical in theirs, and same thing, change of scenes and all that. So I really question whether or not that's the best thing to do.
I thought out of hand that I would be voting with you guys, and that was my second time through the Cutter video. And even though it's long, it's point to point to point to point on everything they have to cover.
Yeah.
And
there is a chronological aspect to it, for sure.
And so I thought it was pretty good and probably worth the try. As somebody pointed out, if you were rich business guy, frequent flyer, and had to do that twice a week going in and out of Doha, that might wear you down to the point where you're ready to talk. But it's certainly captivating the first time you see it.
Yeah. And so they're it depends on the airline. It's part of their culture, which one they use. And so, somebody made that decision. Okay, the flight attendants, I'm sure, like it to some degree, that they don't have to stand up there and be on in view all the time. But Eric and I were talking about before, if any of you were here about a year and a half ago now, we had a fellow named Glenn who was one of the people on board. He was in 6B. On the Miracle on the Hudson, US Air 1549, and ended up in the Hudson River there. And I asked Glenn, I said, Glenn, when you see portrayed in the movies when there's a disaster on board an airplane, they show everybody getting frantic and screaming and being hyper agitated and all that. I said, what was it like when because they were 2 minutes and 36 seconds after they released brakes on takeoff, they were in the Hudson. So it was really short. I said, what was it like when the to go through that? And he said, of course, he said, we experienced this big multiple thuds when the birds hit. And he said, then it got extremely quiet. And he said, nobody said anything. And there was no activity. He said, but the funny thing was, as soon as they impacted the water and it came to a horrendously sudden stop, everybody was in their seat back pocket in front of them, getting out the safety card to see, what do I do now? And so we had a good laugh about that. So in that, to me, I don't know about Eric, but what the more I got into my career, the better I felt on takeoff. For example, there were times early in my career when I took off and I had trouble remembering, what happened in the preceding 30 to 60 seconds. But as I got more experience, when I was rolling down the runway, releasing brakes, it's a critical time between brake release and V1, which is the speed at which below that we can stop in the remaining runway, and above that where we can't stop. And it's very critical, but we do have the energy to fly on as little as much as with one engine completely quit. So anyway, what I would do is I would focus really present, being in that moment, looking at the airspeed, looking outside to make sure we're still on the runway and doing those things, and almost daring the engine to quit or something to go wrong prior to V1 and then after V1. And I felt much more present. And there are days when you're less engaged. But I felt really I was a better pilot down there. I don't know. Do you ever have anything like that, Eric? Changes in your awareness?
And I think that really in some of those cases, age brings wisdom. When you're young and amped up, you go, oh, I got to think of everything. I got to think of everything, which then, of course, you think of nothing. And as I got older, I'd go, okay, if I reject, I'm going to do step 1, step 2, step 3. I'm just going to do them in that order. And if I go, then I'm going to, like leaving Phoenix, I'm going to fly out to the 6th DME and I'm going to turn right to 165 degrees. That's all I memorized. I'm going to go 6 miles east and I'm going to turn right, which was our terrain avoidance procedure. And I'd keep those first steps in mind instead of trying to encompass all of it in my head and I would say I would sort out the rest of it when it came. And the other funny thing that used to make the first officers laugh is anytime it was my first flight after a check ride, which is one disaster-filled scenario after another, and you get back in the real airplane and you go, all right, take a breath, it's all good. But I would have the first officer do the first takeoff. Just so I could watch stuff and take a deep breath and calm myself down and get back to reality.
That's a great point. I did something similar, because when you go through that, it's like batting practice, and it's just one emergency after another for over a period of 3 days of thinking about it, and then you get out there, and so you are at some risk, as Eric alluded to, of overreacting if even something slight happened. So I did that as well. I always offered the fellas I was flying with the first leg, because typically the captain takes the first one. So I did that as well, but that was part of it too. When I first got in the airplane after having a day or 2 or 3 or 4 off, I felt I was more powerful observing, and in fact. That's the protocol for most airlines now, right? You get an abnormal procedure with something that requires some thinking above and beyond, or an emergency procedure. And now basically the captain is going to be the one that's sitting back, managing the situation. And the first officer is going to fly it right through until they get everything handled. And then the captain may take over and land it or so. Yeah.
One of my favorite segues on that just cracked me up in the past. I don't know why. Both you and I trained in Phoenix for a long time at the training center. Who was our chief operations officer who passed away that they named the training center after? And he was
God, he was a VP. Yeah,
he was the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah,
and very sharp. And I'll think of it next show. That makes me sad. But to come out of the training center, so you're in there for a couple hours of brief and 4 hours of pure nightmare scenarios in the sim, and you walk out of there and you're a mess. And you get in your car and Buckeye Road splits the Phoenix airport and also goes by the training center. And it was a turn right only. And you had to go darn near a mile, 3/4 of a mile before you could pull a 180, turn around and get either on interstate.
Because it was a divided street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there was a left turn lane to come into the training center in case you're coming the other way. So the pilots come out because they're smarter than everybody else going, man, how am I going to freaking drive down there to the end of the county and turn around? I've had a long enough day. It hasn't gone that great. And so they would go through the wrong way through the left turn thing and get in the correct lane. And once or twice we had guys doing that with the crazy rental car kids coming back there like it was a Grand Prix, and they hit them. And just a bullet. Unfortunately, nobody got hurt, but just turned the cars to confetti. And one of the Phoenix police guys, it was obvious what happened. The pilot had came out, made an illegal left turn through there, and the rental car kid was going at least 50 miles an hour over the speed limit and creamed him. And at one point, one of the police officers asked one of our pilots, he said, shall I just put on your statement you have no effing idea? And one of our guys goes, yeah, that'd be fine. That's good. And so we continually get missives from the chief pilot's office. Will you guys please stop illegally turning through that hole?
Yeah. It was basically a curb cut that was there for going the other direction.
And the pilots all zoned out. They'd never see him coming. They just got obliterated.
Well, I got two comments. One, great topic tonight, and then the other one was in response to the safety video, I believe, and that is switching it up might keep us guessing and wondering. And I think the challenge with that is that, switching it up, how often, we fly and how often somebody else has to do that safety video. But I was going to ask you, though, Eric, what do you think is the reason why some of the American flights have it and some don't? Is that a function of the in-flight entertainment system? Like, are those newer planes versus older planes? Or
that's all correct, too. They have widely differing in-flight entertainment systems depending on the model and the year and everything else. And then some of the airplanes have that are ETOPS have ETOPS videos and have systems set up for briefing on them, and some of them don't. And some of the flight attendants that are going in and out of the Caribbean and stuff, well, they get on and go, man, are we in an ETOPS segment or not? Well, they don't really know, so they'll just let it rip and cover everything.
Yeah.
So
and ETOPS, for those of you not aware, that's the extended overwater or extended twin engine operations, but a lot of overwater in that. So dealing with anxiety, since that happens to be the whole reason that we're here, is one focus would be just to watch it and help it distract you. Always rely on your breathing. You can always go back to that. And for the person and anyone else out there who finds that it gets them more anxious, do any number of things that we talk about. Pay attention and remember that the safety videos and the safety procedures demonstration are designed to help you, not because we think that there's going to be something going wrong. So keep that in mind. And they're basically there for practical tips to help you out. Okay, some questions and stuff. Dieter, I don't know if you had a chance to run those poll questions. We were doing a little survey.
Yeah.
Okay, and we can look at that down the road maybe.
I think maybe we come back to it and report back. I do have a couple of answers, but we don't have all of them answered. So
okay. I had some other thoughts here. You know, how often do you pay attention during the briefing at all? You know, always, most of the time, or rarely. I know myself, I kind of zone out because I've heard it so many times. I tell people, you know, the one thing that I'm really cognizant of is I look at where I am and where the nearest emergency exit is. And I try to imagine that, you know, getting out of that airplane in a hurry when I can't see anything. And that's the most important thing. So, you know, sometimes you might even want to count the number of seats between you and the exit row. If you had that opportunity, it's kind of tough sometimes if you're not first on the airplane.
Actually, Sandra mentioned that too. She said, I try and count the seats to the door. So, and actually, I do that all the time as well. It's just a little, I don't know, it's part of my own little ritual where I'm sitting in relation to the exit, and being able to make it, even if there's low or no visibility and lots of chaos. So
yeah. And of course, another question I had was, do you feel the safety briefing is presented in a way that's easy to follow and understand? That's why I thought that the longer it is, the harder it is for me to maintain some kind of sequence and all that. So if they do that, insist upon that, they might do a wrap up at the end, or have a card that just has the bullet points from what's in the safety briefing there. If you could change one thing about the pre-flight safety briefings, what would it be? You got any thoughts, Eric? What would you do if you were in charge?
Well, I got me on the spot on that one. You usually think about most of that stuff, and it varies between what we just saw and bullet point to bullet point to bullet point. But my only input is if that really triggers you guys, this would be an opportunity once our guy Scott puts this in the can and reposts it. You can pull this show and watch those things over and over and over until they're routine, because all the information is right there. And then when you get on the airplane and they start in, you can go, oh yeah, that stuff. I'm all up to speed on that.
Yeah, and you could use it to desensitize you. You could it'd be a form of exposure for anybody that gets triggered by it. So why not? Okay, let me break from this for just a minute. I'll close with another reminder about the monthly group coaching webinar coming up. Eric, we were talking about with the craziness in the world right now, especially in the Middle East and Syria now adding to the mix. What happens if I'm in an airliner? What do I need to know? Is there anything I need to know about flying over areas where they might have some stuff going on the ground?
Essentially, no, but I did have some commentary on that, and I'll ask you, do you want me to get into that now or save it to next week? Because I can go either way, given that it's 20.
Give us a high level tasting of it.
All right. So there was an article in the Wall Street Journal in November talking about the hostilities in the Mid East and what the airlines do to cope with that, because the information comes from a patchwork of sources, and each airline selects what sources they're going to use to mitigate that risk. And the United Nations and ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, which is the international FAA, are trying to make a set of procedures and protocols so that the airlines can coexist when the hostilities are going on, and they really haven't been able to move that forward yet. So the airlines generally are adopting a philosophy of avoidance, pretty much avoidance, because these guys in November, the security firm had analyst said they shot 162 missiles at each other, and they weren't backyard things. They were ballistic missiles that presented risk going up and risk coming down, and risk when parts come off them, with airspace being shared by airliners going out of extremely heavily trafficked areas. So there was some commentary on that, and we can talk about that in a little more in a week. I thought it was quite interesting, and I was balancing that with, geez, I don't really want to give you guys more stuff to worry about because you're quite inventive and resourceful all by yourself. But I thought the article was interesting enough that I thought I'd look at it.
Yeah, and our good friend Nat, as I mentioned before, he talked about the fact they simply don't even go anywhere near them.
Yeah.
They route the airplanes around, and that affects everything from fuel burn to crew hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely not looking to fly on any of the Iranian airlines, the Ukrainian airlines, the Russian airlines, and I'd be much more discerning anyway. But I got no desire to buy a ticket on any of those right now, and no need to go.
And I can just say from my own experience flying, over conflict areas, it's actually amazing how much of a detour is calculated into it. And in both cases that I've been on a plane where that happened, that was literally communicated to us by the captain before we even took off in both cases. So it was, because once you see the route, and you see that big U shape, and I think once it was over the northern part of India and Pakistan in 2019, exchanged some greetings, and so that was one of them, and the other one was Middle East. I don't exactly remember which part, but anyway, in both cases, we were already informed beforehand that they had planned and left ample of room, and which is why the flight time increased and why they have more fuel and all this kind of. So I felt, as a passenger, I felt safe knowing that as the crow flies, we would go over this area, but already they had taken care of everything, and they just let us know what they did, and it was good.
Yeah, for sure. So just to kind of recap, the main thing is, in-flight safety procedures they have a purpose, without a doubt. They're designed to give you a little bit of insight and direction as to what you need to do if certain things happen on there. I separate them into getting out if the airplane comes to a stop really quickly, or something like depressurization. And the depressurization, we didn't touch on it, but typically if an airplane has to do a depressurization from up in the vicinity of 30 to 40,000 feet, it's not uncommon for one of the flight attendants to pass out. It's not uncommon for some people on the airplane to pass out. The thing that you need to know is that you're not at risk of dying, because we're going to get you down there. We've got 10 minutes to do it, but it's going to be probably under 5 minutes to get you down below where you need any supplemental oxygen. So the videos or the things are important. Whether or not you see a video or a live demonstration doesn't really matter. It's a matter of preference on the airline. It's just that the focus is the same for all of them. And there are some controversies out there whether the more entertainment, does it affect the retention rates on that? So the main thing is we just want you to pay attention and keep your wits about you. Okay. I want to say one last thing again for a pitch for our monthly live coaching webinars coming up on the 19th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. And again, encore presentation on Saturday morning, December 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's about an hour and a half. We have a couple of visualizations, and I got a couple of good ones already lined up. So please consider joining us, and we'll guarantee that you'll have some fun, you'll have a good time, and you'll learn something to get you better equipped to be more calm on the airplane. Okay, so with that, Eric, thanks again for joining us. Dieter, thanks again for making all this possible, and thanks to you all out there. So we'll see you again next week for another episode of Fearless Flight Live, and have a great week. Bye-bye, everybody.